Hello, welcome back to my channel, and today we are discussing a bit of a crazy idea with Jack Grealish here. Now, let me give you guys some context here as we pull out the tactical board and talk about Grealish to why I thought of this idea. I was watching the game Germany against the Netherlands, and Aki unfortunately got injured. So, with Aki out, we have a problem with our left back. That being that we only have one of them. I went onto a call-in show with LB. It's LB. If you don't know him by any virtue, go check him out. Amazing guy. And I talked about it a bit, but I hadn't really thought about it enough. So I'm not gonna pay, mate. So I hadn't really thought about it enough. So I wasn't able to formulate a good argument. But now I've woken up here this morning and I've really thought about this a lot. And there's three things that I need to be able to achieve with this new system to make it logical, I suppose. But just as an upfront, this is not a very likely system. It is very far-fetched, and the reason why I go for such far-fetched ideas is because Pep Guardiola does the same thing. Pep Guardiola does things you never think about. He just pulls them out of the blue. And then it ends up being the best system ever because he's a genius. Now, I'm not saying that I'm a genius. Maybe I am, but I'm not saying that I am. I'm not. But what I am saying is here, if he wants to predict what Pep Guardiola will do when he faces injuries like this, you have to get far-fetched ideas sometimes. So, the problem here with our left back, again, is we only have one of them. Now, LB said on the call-in show, you could have Rico Lewis play on the left, but no, sorry. I don't want Rico Lewis on the left. He's too good on the right. He's just too good. I don't want him on the left. Period. You can't convince me otherwise. It's not really any arguments to convince me that you put him on the left. He's just so good on the right. Okay, maybe you'll have Kyle Walker on the right sometimes, but then you take those times to rest Rico Lewis, because he's only a child. Let's be honest, he's 20 years old. He's still a child. Then Akanji, he also said Akanji can play on the left. Which apparently Akanji played on the left again in the Bernabeu in the treble season, which I didn't even realize. That must have been wiped from my mind. So I went to check that after the call-in show to see is this actually true. And he did play on as left back at the Bernabeu, which I don't know how I forgot about that, but apparently he did it. So treble season, so the 1-1. Now, with that said though, that is only one game. That is one game. And here is why I don't want Akanji as left back. Akanji is a great defender, don't get me wrong. But he is sloppy at times. You look at Internationale, Champions League final, where Lautaro Martinez got onto the ball, almost got a goal. If he cut it back to Lukaku, who was running into the box, that would have been 1-0 Internationale. Son, same scenario. If Son scores that goal, well, not exactly the same, but if Son scores that goal, bye-bye forfeit. So there are moments there where Akanji is just a bit too sloppy. With that said, he is still a great defender. And you put him on the right. With his right foot, his strong foot, you can minimize the damage. You can put him on the left for a single game, sure. But now you put this player who is sloppy on the left every game. And teams are expecting Akanji to play on the left, because you play him there quite often. Now they're going to target him, when pressing, because they know he's not good with his left foot, and he's very sloppy even when he's on his right foot. Now, that minimized damage of his sloppiness can become majorly exploited, which is why I just don't want Akanji for a season-long basis on this left-hand side of the pitch. Which, very great objection raised by LP. Again, if you don't know him by any virtue, go check him out. Great guy. But now that I've actually thought about it, I just don't think it makes sense for a season basis or even a 2-month basis to play him on that left. Because Aki is probably out for 2 months, by the way. 2-3 months, maybe 4 if it's very bad. But probably no more than that. But he will be back, Aki. So I can't just create a system where Aki doesn't get back into the team. At the end of the day, we need Aki, when he returns, to be able to slot right back in. And we can't completely change system in the middle of the season. So how do we create a system where Aki can come in effortlessly, where Gvardio can rotate until Aki is back with somebody else, because he will need it, we have a lot of fixtures here in the early half of the season, and that is still effective and gets the best out of our players. This is the perhaps crazy system I thought of. And now, don't worry about any player past Rodri. All of these players, yeah? You could have Jack and Daniel over here. Really doesn't matter. Really doesn't matter. That is not the point of this video. This is mainly defensive focus. But for the sake of argument, let's take Foden out of this team. And now you realize we have 2 midfielders, 3 attackers, 4 defenders. So you might realize, okay, with our players short, we need 11 players on the pitch. But okay, that's not the point. The point is, we take out a midfielder and bring in Jack Grealish. Why do we do this? So let's say Gvardiol needs some rest, or let's say he gets a red card, right? Let's say he gets a red card, so he can't play for 3 games. Okay, now what do we do for the next 3 games? We don't play Akanji here for the reasons I just explained. So instead, we bring Grealish over here. Before I explain the system itself, and okay, we need an extra defender. Before I explain the system itself, let me explain why Grealish as left back might not be such a bad idea. Jack Grealish is very good at defending. There are moments that I can list, like against Son in the Spurs game and Manchester United game at, I believe, the Etihad, where he came running back. There's a few games against Liverpool as well, I believe, at Anfield, if I'm not mistaken. He also came back once to cover for... Actually, no, that was in the Carabao Cup, wasn't it? I can't quite remember, but there are moments against big teams where Grealish comes back and defends and does it to a decent margin. Not as well as Aki or Gvardiol, but Jack Grealish can play as a left back. I am convinced of that. He won't be as good as Gvardiol, but we are using him to rotate Gvardiol. We're not saying Jack Grealish plays as left wing back every game. But more importantly, when he inverts and plays in midfield, he can also be very good. And also, when you defend with this team, you have this team to defend, you have 5 in the back. You can sit back a bit more and support Grealish a bit more on that left back side. Help him double up with maybe Savio or De Bruyne, who drops a bit deeper to help in that defensive acumen. Grealish is not alone. You have a bigger defense, which means we have less of attack, but we'll get into that in a bit. So Grealish as left wing back, I don't think that is outside of his abilities to do. Just not in the big games. Hopefully not in the big games, right? But now let's explain the system itself and how Gvardiol can play in it and Aki. Because yes, Aki can play in the system. Nathan Aki can play in the system, and we'll get there. But first with Grealish, because he's the star of this show, I suppose. Even though he probably won't play the majority of the games there. In this system, we have a back 5, 2 players in midfield, and this. But this is way too defensive. We need to go forwards. When we go forwards, this might work decently for defending, with Rodri and De Bruyne probably coming back, and then probably Doku coming back, because Savio and Haaland probably stay up top here. And then we have something like this. Very defensive, I know. And then we can maybe counter-attack, we'll see about that. Let's not worry too much about that though. I'm sure Pepe will figure it out. Pepe will figure it out. That is my cop-out answer here. But that is when we defend. What about when we go forward? How do we get more creativity into this side, which currently only has De Bruyne here in midfield? You push Jack Grealish into midfield. You form a back 3 here with Akanji, Diaz and Stones. Stones is pretty quick. Akanji is pretty quick. Diaz a bit slower, but heck, you could even put Diaz here and Stones here to have Diaz or Stones' space cover that area. And then you will also push up Rico Lewis. this is already very similar to what we do. We now create our midfield 3 with De Bruyne, Grealish, and Rodri. Rico Lewis can slot into this midfield to form that box midfield. Well, this is more of a diamond, but that's not really the point. You could form this into a box as well if you're not sloppy like me. But yeah, close enough to a box, right? Just a bit tilted. Anyhow, you could push this into a box midfield, or you could push Rico Lewis up here, have him overlap with Doku, push into the box, or do the same with Grealish over here. You can have him here, you can have him here, you can have him here. And this system allows to create something very similar, like what we already have. It's pretty much the same system going forwards, but a bit different. And just a little different in how we make it, I suppose. But now, let's say this system works. We have Grealish here with Rodri, and then De Bruyne here, and voila. This is our box midfield stuff that we all know and love. We have Doku here, and Savio here, and you can swap Doku and Savio from wing if you like, doesn't matter. Now you have something more going forward. Rico Lewis and De Bruyne could go all the way into the box, or if you want, you could have Rico Lewis be the one sitting further back and Grealish pushing up higher, and then you have maybe something more like this. Then maybe have something like this instead. Whichever pleases you, right? Whichever pleases you. And then you still have Rico Lewis getting back to this right back spot. Then you have your back 4. Grealish can very quickly get back into that left wing back spot. So going backwards, it works. Whichever the case, attacking, this also works. But now, what if Jack Grealish is not playing? Because after all, this system is designed to cover Gvardiol. To make sure that when Gvardiol rests, is suspended, has a minor injury, hopefully no major injuries, Jack Grealish can slot into his place. At the end of the day, this is Gvardiol's place. Can Gvardiol play in this same system? I would argue, yes. Because we have already seen him do it. We have seen him do it at the Bernabeu, where he scored a bang. We have seen him do it at the final stretch of the the four-peat season, where he was playing very high up, getting involved, getting into midfield and all of that, playing as left winger sometimes, playing as a forward midfielder sometimes. Gvardiol can absolutely play the system. We have already seen him play a similar role. So not only can Grealish play in this role, Gvardiol can also play in this role. But here I hate your objection. Now Ake comes back and you have to completely change style. Do you? Do you? Because, I don't know. Just take Diaz out, Ake in. Just take Akanji out, Ake in. Just take Stones out, Ake in. He's a centre back. He can play as centre back. You don't need Ake to play as left back in the system. That is the best part about it. You can play Ake as a centre back in this system. It might be far-fetched. I completely acknowledge that. Now do tell me your opinions here on this completely crazy system that I have thought up, cooked up, and how likely it is. I would give it a 1 in 1,000 chance of actually happening. But it's very interesting to talk about. Very interesting to think about. See how it maybe goes. But this system will work with Ake. It will work with Gvardiol. It will work with Grealish. You can have this system work. And even if, worst case scenario, Grealish and Gvardiol are out, you can always put Rico Lewis on the left. And then put Walker on the right. And now you might say, okay, but what if Rico Lewis gets injured? Well, okay. What if all 3 of our centre backs get injured? Let's not get into that, right? I assume that 3 players of depth should be enough. And if it isn't, then no system. Sorry, no system where 3 players who are supposed to do the same role will ever work. If you have 3 centre backs injured, that will never work either. So let's not even think about what if all these 3 players get injured, because there's really no point in thinking about that. You can't predict something like that. But yeah, do tell me what you guys think, yeah? Thank you guys for sticking along to the end. Please do like and subscribe to the video. Helps out a ton. We're going a bit slow here this month. International break. Really slowing down the channel. Quite annoying. This happens every international break. I hate it. I hate international break. But we're almost back into, I don't know, regular season, I suppose. So, thank you guys for all your support. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.